A man walked into the small diner on Main Street, his face shadowed beneath a worn baseball cap. He wore sunglasses despite the overcast sky and a leather jacket that seemed one size too big. His steps were confident but deliberate, as though he was both familiar with the place and yet a stranger within it. No one in the diner glanced twice. The regular hum of conversation and the soft clink of silverware against plates filled the air. The scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee lingered, wrapping the little eatery in a comforting embrace. The man slid into a corner booth, adjusted his sunglasses and scanned the room. His lips curled into a subtle smirk, not of amusement, but of anticipation. Underneath that careful disguise was none other than Bruce Willis. Yes, the Bruce Willis, Hollywood icon, action hero, household name. But today, in this unassuming town tucked away in California's hills, he was just a man trying to disappear for a moment. He looked around, eyes settling on the glowing neon sign above the counter that read, Willis's Diner. His diner. Bruce had bought this place about 6 months ago. He had wanted something simple after retiring from acting, something grounded, normal. A place where locals could gather, where he could step away from the glare of Hollywood. But as the weeks passed, Bruce found himself too hands-off. Between traveling and settling other matters in his personal life, he hadn't been around as much as he promised himself he would be. He trusted his manager and the staff to run things, but something had been nagging at him lately, a feeling that things weren't quite right. And that's why he was here today, dressed in a disguise, ready to experience the diner like any other customer. Behind the counter stood Lena, a young waitress in her mid-20s. Her curly auburn hair was tied back into a loose ponytail, a pencil tucked behind one ear. She moved swiftly, refilling coffee mugs, scribbling down orders, and offering tired but genuine smiles. In the open kitchen, partially visible behind the counter, was Mark, the cook. Stocky, bearded, with a tattoo peeking out from under his sleeve, Mark flipped pancakes with mechanical precision. His sharp sarcasm often masked his softer side, but those who knew him well understood he had a good heart. The diner itself was charmingly retro. Red vinyl booths lined the walls, a jukebox sat quietly in one corner, and framed photos of 1950s celebrities decorated the space. The smell of frying eggs, toasted bread, and freshly ground coffee beans made the air feel warm and welcoming. It was a typical Tuesday morning. Locals sat scattered among the booths, an older couple reading newspapers, a pair of construction workers discussing blueprints, and a mom with 2 kids sharing pancakes. Bruce pulled his cap a little lower, settled into the booth and quietly ordered a black coffee from Lena without lifting his sunglasses. She didn't recognize him, nor did she suspect a thing. As he waited, Bruce couldn't help but wonder, how did this place really run when the owner wasn't watching? Were the staff happy? Was the diner living up to his vision of being a community hub? It wasn't long before his curiosity found an answer, just not the one he expected. Before we dive into what Bruce hears next, and trust me, you don't want to miss it, hit that subscribe button right now. We've got more real-life celebrity surprises and unbelievable stories coming your way. Bruce took a sip of his coffee, his attention drawn to the sound of Lena's voice floating from behind the counter. What she said next made him freeze mid-sip. Bruce leaned slightly toward the counter, his heart thumping just a little faster. He hadn't expected to feel nervous, but hearing what was unfolding was enough to stop anyone in their tracks. Lena sighed, wiping her hands on her apron as she balanced a tray. I'm telling you, Mark, if the new owner doesn't get it together soon, I'm done. I can't keep doing this. Mark, standing at the grill flipping a patty, chuckled with a hint of bitterness. Yeah, probably some rich guy playing pretend, buys a diner for the nostalgia, then vanishes, figures. Bruce blinked. His smirk disappeared instantly. That's about me, he thought, his fingers tightening around his coffee mug. Lena leaned against the counter, lowering her voice just a bit, though not enough to escape Bruce's ears. I mean, seriously. When was the last time anyone even saw him? It's like, what, 4 months? We're drowning over here. I'm pulling doubles, the equipment's falling apart, and nobody's fixing anything. Mark nodded, tossing fries into the deep fryer. Oil sizzled loudly. The fridge is on its last leg, Prep station's busted. You know how many times I nearly broke my wrist on that stupid drawer? Lena laughed tiredly, but it quickly faded. And don't even get me started on the tips lately. Less customers every week. Bruce sat frozen. His eyes scanned the diner again, the cracked vinyl on one booth, the flickering neon in the window, the stubborn stain on the floor near the jukebox. How had he missed this? He'd signed papers, trusted his general manager to handle it all. But now, sitting here listening, it hit him. He hadn't really been present. Then Lena's voice softened in a way that made Bruce's gut twist. It's not just the job, Mark. I'm barely holding it together. Mum's medical bills are piling up. She needs a new treatment plan, but it's not like this paycheck can cover that. Mark turned from the grill, leaning on the counter, serious now. Lena, why didn't you say something? What good would it do? She shrugged. Boss isn't here, never is, and corporate doesn't care. We're just background noise to them. Bruce swallowed hard. His thumb traced the rim of his mug, suddenly aware of every flaw. In the diner, in his own plan, in how disconnected he'd become from what was supposed to be his passion project. Mark exhaled, running a hand through his messy, dark hair. Look, I get it. I hate this broken-down kitchen as much as anyone. But where would we go? This town's got nothing. Job market's garbage. We jump ship, we sink. Lena leaned her elbows on the counter, nodding miserably. Yeah, feels like we're all stuck. A sharp laugh escaped Mark. What a dream, huh? Work in a Hollywood star's diner. And live paycheck to paycheck with a broken fridge. Bruce pressed back against the booth, feeling an uncomfortable tightness in his chest. This wasn't just disappointment in the diner. This was disappointment in him. A customer interrupted briefly, complaining about cold toast. Lena quickly apologized and rushed off, but Bruce noticed the weariness in her steps. Mark muttered under his breath as he adjusted the fryer that was sputtering again. Bruce looked down at his hands. For the first time in a long while, he felt something he hadn't expected: guilt. But as he glanced up again, watching Lena pour coffee with a forced smile and Mark fighting the grill, something else started to stir beneath the guilt. Resolve. This can't stay like this. No way. Bruce's eyes followed Lena as she maneuvered between tables, offering practiced smiles that never quite reached her eyes. Her fatigue was undeniable, and now that he knew what to look for, it was written all over her posture, her hurried steps, the tight set of her jaw. In the kitchen, Mark cursed under his breath as the fryer sputtered again. He banged it with the side of his fist, but the stubborn machine hissed defiantly. "Piece of junk," he grumbled. A woman at a booth nearby waved her hand. "Miss, this coffee's ice cold." "Coming right up," Lena responded, forcing cheer into her tone. She hustled to the counter, filled a fresh mug and hustled back, murmuring another apology. Bruce's gaze drifted toward the cracked linoleum floor, the chipped paint on the windowsill. How had he missed this deterioration? This diner was supposed to be a second home for the town, a place of comfort, of community. And here it was, barely holding together. In his mind, scenes flickered, memories from his career. Bruce standing on movie sets, barking orders to crews during breaks, solving sudden problems with quick thinking. He remembered the pride he took in being a leader on set, the camaraderie built behind the scenes. So why hadn't I brought that same energy here? The thought hit him hard. Lena's voice cut through his reflection again. "Mark, the fridge is dead. Like actually dead." The compressor's shot. Mark threw the spatula onto the grill with a clatter. We can't run lunch service without that. The meat's gonna spoil." Lena opened the fridge door, inspecting it with frustration. "I told Jerry about this a week ago. He said he'd tell the owner." "Guess the owner's still missing in action," Mark snapped, shaking his head. Bruce clenched his jaw. Jerry, his manager, the one Bruce had trusted to keep everything running. Clearly, Jerry hadn't handled it. A voice from one of the booths broke through the tension. An older man, sipping coffee and chatting with his buddy, said loud enough for Bruce to hear, "You hear the rumor? Heard the owner's thinking of selling the place." Bruce's brow furrowed. Selling? He hadn't even thought about selling. Where was that coming from? The other man nodded. Wouldn't blame him. This place is falling apart. Bruce's heart thudded. Was that how everyone saw this place now? A sinking ship. Lena and Mark didn't respond to the customers, but their faces said enough. Lena's shoulders sagged as she cleaned the counter. Mark ran a hand down his face, looking every bit as exhausted as Lena. Bruce sat back, pressing a palm against his forehead. He'd wanted a quiet life. He thought buying the diner would be simple, a place that ran itself with the right people in charge. But now it was clear that wasn't how this worked. Businesses needed leadership, presence, someone who cared. I became the absentee boss I never wanted to be, he thought bitterly. His gaze drifted to Lena again, who took a moment to breathe, leaning against the coffee machine. She pulled her phone from her apron and checked a message. Her eyes dimmed, lips pressing together in frustration, before she shoved it back into her pocket. Bruce could guess the contents. Medical bills maybe, more stress. His eyes flicked toward Mark, who was trying to fix the fryer with a butter knife, muttering, "Yeah, this is totally safe." A weak laugh bubbled up in Bruce's throat, but it died quickly. This wasn't funny. Not anymore. He slid out of the booth quietly, dropping some bills on the table for the coffee. His mind was racing. I have to fix this, starting now. Bruce pushed open the diner door, stepping into the crisp morning air. The weight of what he'd heard pressed against his chest, heavier than he expected. For a brief second, he stood there, staring at the cracked sidewalk beneath his feet, then slowly made his way to his car. He drove aimlessly at first, letting the familiar roads guide him. Eventually, he pulled into a quiet park overlooking the town. From this spot, the diner was just a speck among the buildings. He killed the engine and sat there, gripping the steering wheel, deep in thought. How did it get this bad? He asked himself. How did I let this happen? As the wind rustled the trees, Bruce's mind drifted back to the day he bought the diner. He'd been so excited. After years under Hollywood's bright lights, this little diner symbolized something real, a chance to be part of a community. He'd imagined chatting with locals over coffee, flipping pancakes on weekends, offering a space where people felt at home. But instead, he'd treated it like an investment, trusting others to handle it, assuming a few appearances and some signature dishes named after his movies would be enough. I disappeared, and so did the heart of the place. A sudden realization hit him. This wasn't just about fixing broken appliances or repainting walls. It was about rebuilding trust. With Lena, with Mark, with the customers who'd supported this place for years. No more hiding, no more acting like the absentee owner. He grabbed his phone and started making calls. First, he rang the equipment repair service. "Yeah, this is Bruce Willis. I need an emergency service call at Willis's diner. Fridge, fryer, prep station, everything that's broken, I want it fixed. Today." The person on the other end stammered at hearing his name but quickly confirmed. Next, he dialed a contractor. "I want a quote for full renovations, booths, counters, floors, neon signs, the whole shebang. I'm not sparing a dime." Then he pulled out an old notebook from his glove box. It was a worn, leather-bound journal, something he hadn't opened since stepping away from acting. Inside were scribbled notes from his movie days, leadership tips, production checklists, things directors and producers had taught him about managing teams. He flipped to a page titled, "Rule 1, Show Up." Bruce chuckled grimly. Yeah, should have remembered that one sooner. The sun was beginning to lower, casting golden streaks over the park. Bruce closed the notebook, his mind sharper now. A plan was forming. Tomorrow he'd call a staff meeting. Lena, Mark, everyone. But he wasn't going to tell them yet that he'd been in the diner today, hearing everything. No, that would come later. First, he wanted to face them honestly, as himself. No disguises, no distance, no more hiding, Bruce. You built your career facing challenges head-on. Time to do it again, not in front of cameras, but in front of real people. He started jotting down notes for the meeting, apologize sincerely, address the equipment issues, ask them what they need, announce raises, they deserve it, discuss future plans, renovations, promotions, involvement. Bruce leaned back in his seat, staring up at the fading sky. Despite the mess, despite the guilt, he felt something else creeping in. Hope. This place can be what I dreamed, if I step up. He smiled, turned the keys, and drove home, ready for tomorrow. The next morning, the diner buzzed with its usual rhythm. Coffee brewing, eggs sizzling, forks clinking against plates. Lena wiped down the counter, stifling a yawn. Mark grumbled at the fryer, which miraculously hadn't caught fire. Yet. The bell above the door jingled. At first, no one bothered to look. Another customer, probably. But when Lena glanced up, her eyes widened. The coffee pot in her hand wobbled. Mark turned from the grill, following her gaze, and nearly dropped the spatula. There, standing in the doorway with no disguise, no sunglasses, no baseball cap, was Bruce Willis. Bruce. Freaking Willis. For a heartbeat, the diner went silent. Customers froze mid-bite. A fork clattered to the floor. Lena blinked rapidly. "Is that—" Mark's jaw actually dropped. "You've got to be kidding me." Bruce offered a sheepish smile, stepping forward. "Morning." No one moved. No one spoke, until Lena, in pure disbelief, said the only thing that made sense. "What are you doing here?" Bruce chuckled, scratching the back of his head. "Well, I own the place. Figured it was time I started acting like it." The tension broke with a mix of stunned laughter and whispers. A customer fumbled for their phone, trying to take a picture discreetly. Bruce raised a hand. "Mind if I get everyone's attention?" Every head turned toward him. Even the jukebox seemed to pause. "I owe you all an apology," Bruce began, voice steady but sincere. "I bought this diner because I wanted to be part of something real, something that mattered, but somewhere along the way I forgot the most important part, showing up." Lena and Mark exchanged glances. Their frustration still simmered beneath the surprise, but curiosity was quickly overtaking it. Bruce continued. "I was here yesterday, in disguise. I heard everything. The broken equipment, the stress, the disappointment. I heard how I let you down." A flush crept up Lena's neck. Mark shifted uncomfortably. "And you were right," Bruce said, looking directly at them. "I've been the absentee boss. But that changes today." He reached into his jacket, pulling out a folder. "First, raises for all the staff, effective immediately. You deserve that much and more." Lena gasped. Mark blinked. A murmur rippled through the room. "Second," Bruce grinned, "the fridge, fryer, and every broken piece of equipment. Getting fixed today. I've already called it in." A few customers applauded softly. Mark couldn't help but smile, shaking his head like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Third," Bruce said, spreading out some blueprints on the counter, "we're renovating. New booths, floors, neon signs, even the jukebox. This place is getting the facelift it deserves." Lena stared at him, tears pricking her eyes. You really mean this?" Bruce nodded. "Every word. But I don't want this to just be my diner. I want it to be our diner. You tell me what you need. What would make this a place you're proud to work in?" Mark let out a low whistle. "Never thought I'd say this, but Bruce Willis might actually be the best boss ever." Laughter broke out. The tension shattered. Customers clapped. A few cheered. Bruce grinned. "And yeah, I'll be here more often. Might even learn how to flip a pancake without burning the place down." The rest of the morning was a whirlwind of excitement. Customers stayed longer, chatting with Bruce, taking photos. Lena's tired smile transformed into something genuine. Mark actually laughed, really laughed, as Bruce awkwardly tried to help at the grill. Weeks later, the diner was unrecognizable. Fresh paint, working appliances, happier staff, fuller tables. A true community hub once again. If this story warmed your heart, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on the video right here on your screen for another unbelievable true story that'll blow your mind.